Hello and welcome to Leicester Till I Die's post-match show. Match week 1. How are we feeling? A bit like me, nervous, remembering, as we've said before, the times we played newly promoted teams on the first match of the new season. The old Bolton 5-0 drubbing, and of course, who can forget the Hull away when we lost in the when we were champions. Seemed to put that behind us. A nervous 20-minute start. We came good. 3-0. Timothy Castagna getting our first, and of course Vardy Party getting a couple of penalties. I didn't realise the second one was a penalty straight away, but it was nice to see getting off to a 3-0 victory. 3 points in the bag, joint top of the league. It's got to be a Colesberg Sunday. Anyway, let me bring in my regular guest on the post-match show, Brad, and we can have a chat about the match. Please feel free, as always, to join in. Put your comments in the page. Can I ask, if you do that and you want to be having a shout out, please put your name at the end of the comments, because it just shows up as Facebook user, so we can't always tell who it is on the main screen here. So I've got to keep looking over to my left to have a look at my other screen. Anyway, here we go. I'm going to bring Brad in now, and we'll say good afternoon, Brad. A happy Fox, I'm guessing.
Yeah, good afternoon, Chris. Yeah, very happy Fox. So I think that's something we really needed to see. First game up, a lot of nerves in regards to our transfer action, or lack of it. Well, it's paid off a slight chunk of the fee, hasn't he, already today? Good
Already?
game. Yeah,
already he has.
Very good game.
I noticed Sky gave him man of the match. Would you agree with that?
Oh, I think take your pick today. I think there's a lot of names flying around you could have gone with. I think it's always hard, especially as a pundit, to look past a debut and a goal and playing well and obviously getting a clean sheet. But I think you could have taken your pick out of 4 or 5 of them today. I think Mendy is one of them, and Ndidi, who we talked about on the Blackburn one, playing centre back.
Yeah.
I think he did brilliantly. Obviously I think he deserved man of the match. It was all great round. There was a few others you could have chucked into the mix there.
I was looking pre-game, and there was a lot of sort of confusion as to exactly where Castagna would start. Would he go to the left, which is obviously where we're going to need him moving forward, or would he start on the right? I was actually sat watching it with my son, and he sort of, again, same as me, sort of where's he going to start. I think it was sensible to play him on the right to start with, because that's where he's been used to playing. He had a whole season at right back last season with Atlanta, and he hasn't had that long to get to know the plays. He's only had sort of 3 days, really. So it was probably right. Do you agree to play him in the position he's more used to?
Yeah, I mean, it's always easier to settle in and not ask someone to come to your club and say, oh yeah, by the way, I know you can play defence, but we need you on a position that you're not as strong in, or take him away from his strengths. First game in a new country, playing football at a different league, and in the case of its abilities and its pace, you just got to put someone into the comfort zone. And obviously that's not just a case of having the likes of Pratt and Tillmans around him for that comfort, but getting him into a position he knows he's 100% assured of being able to play at a very good level.
I mean, the first goal, it was the old, people have been putting this up as well, and I quoted this when I put the goal up. It was the Belgian connection. I mean, you still got to think that Belgium are currently the number 1 team in the world, and we've got 3 of their players, and I know the sort of off-season has been disappointing, but that's a nice thing to say, isn't it?
It is. I would call them, the Belgian boys are up and running. I think if it was going to be, super touchy on that one, you could say we're De Bruyne short of maybe being the perfect Stella Artois for it. But them 3 linked up, they were brilliant.
Be nice if we put a cheeky late bid in for De Bruyne, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I think it might get left out of the Man City building, but still, yeah.
Yes. Did you first 20 minutes we were worried here, me and my son. But I mean I think I sort of turned around and said that, you know, being the new team in the division, being the promoted team, seeing what Leeds managed to do against Liverpool yesterday, which was a great performance. I know they lost, but it was still a good performance. West Brom at home, newly promoted team, were always going to come at us and give it a go from the off. And I think at the start, although they say that they were sort of almost, you know, carving us up, they never looked a real threat. But it was a bit of a shaky 20 minutes for us.
Yeah, it was, and I think it was understandable. But I think maybe we just saw, yes, granted against West Brom and newly promoted side, as we say, but you know, Liverpool in a great game did just about get the job done against Leeds. I know Arsenal had it a bit more like us, a bit more comfort, but they were at home. And as it was mentioned on Sky Sports, that was our first, not just clean sheet away from home, but our first win or even point away from home in 7 attempts. You know, and when you're kind of, you know, the shadows of last season and the, you know, the restart over us,
yeah,
it was very good to get off to the start we did. And honestly, the first 20, 25 minutes was probably Leicester going, well, come on then, let's see what you've got.
Yeah.
Let's see what you've got, West Brom, because I think West Brom were expecting us to kind of still be that, get the ball moving forward, getting a bit panicky on it, because last season, when we tried to play the slow build-up game and things didn't exactly go our way, some players seemed to get a bit frustrated, make a rush pass. Today, it was so composed. It was so, like, we had no issues at all, especially in the build-up for our goal. Instead of instantly knocking the ball back in, we're to 6-yard box, he just rolled it out to the left, put the ball in, header was met, goal.
Yeah.
I think that was a big talking point for today. We were very composed.
Yeah, they said before the game started on Sky, they said the actual quote was, "Is this a good time to play Leicester?" And West Brom, I know from speaking to the, well, I mean, it obviously wasn't a good time to play Leicester, but I think from West Brom's point of view, and talking to Matt from the West Brom fan on in the Friday night opposition view show, I think it was almost seen as a good time, because how would we carry on with the same form that we finished the season on last season, or would we start with the way we started off last season? It is always a potential banana skin. And like I say, once we soaked up that pressure, I would have said silence the crowd, but there was no crowd there. But once we'd soaked up that pressure, we didn't look in trouble.
No, that's very true. I made a very good comment saying basically after the first 25 minutes, well, I think for them 25 minutes, you got the cliche definite first 25 minutes where you're getting a feel for your opponent, which we do every week. Any team does that every week. And, you know, if you get off to a flying start, it's a lot easier, but we didn't. And we just settled in. And we just kind of went, right, let's see. Because I think West Brom were probably, and Bilic, from what he remembers of us when he was in the Premiership, and I'm sure he would have obviously done his homework. He's a decent manager. Probably thought, right, we will soak up Leicester and hit them on the counter. And when that didn't happen, it was almost like West Brom after 20 minutes went, what now? Because we weren't expecting Leicester to be this composed, calm, and feel the feet into it. And I think when you do that first game of the season, especially against a newly promoted side, and they kind of run out of ideas. I don't remember Casper. No, so I do. 40 minutes, he made a very good save. But after that, I don't remember Casper having to do much in the way of making anything that wasn't necessary to make.
No, I think, like I said, even in that first 20 minutes when they were looked in control and looked worrying, they didn't actually say, I don't think they actually threatened the goal at all.
Yeah.
I'm just looking now in the whole game. I mean, they had 7 shots with 1 on target. We had 13 with 7 on target. And I think that is a pretty good representation of the game.
Yeah. And there wasn't many shouts to say that they I mean, everybody says, oh, I know that it was more concentrating on the fact that we didn't really get things going. But I think if you maybe cast your mind back over the last 7 or 8 games where we played exactly how we did today, but we just didn't have the mistakes. We didn't get frustrated when it was 0-0, 50 minutes into the game. We didn't start rushing our passes and go, oh, well, we've not got the goal. let's up the Alamo, let's go 100 miles per hour a lot, we know best. Brandon kind of went, it'll come with these, because once they realise they've not got anything to go at, they're going to have to come out, and that's when we won it. And that's why we did win it. The spaces came in that second half because West Brom kind of went, well, we need to mix something up. I like the little tongue-in-cheek there. Yeah, sorry about the sound. I do apologise. I will try and work on getting something for this laptop. It's just not been doing well on it. Sorry, Dale, for that. I will try and sort something out.
Either that or he had a celebration drink after the game. Not sure which.
Well,
but,
yeah. Hopefully I can improve the sound quality on it. I did try and mess around with it after our friendly one that we did. So I will try and improve the sound. Just have to bear with me.
I could say I just thought, you know, we looked. It was. I often say, will the real Leicester stand up? And I think that from last season, that was very much the case. I mean, it was a tale to two halves of the season, but I thought it was a good all-round performance.
Yeah, I think right. I think it was very solid. It was professionally done. Didn't get off to the greatest start, but then again, for all the talk of saying West Brom controlled that first 25 minutes, it wasn't too much to worry about.
No.
I think we did well. I think we handled it well, and I think, like you said, we just did a very good job. We just played a very good game.
Some players I want to sort of look at individually. The guy sort of earlier was saying about we're not missing Chilwell. Justin at the start didn't. I mean, whatever you say about Chilwell, he used to like going forward for a while, and that was maybe because of the way that West Brom were playing. But and my son made a note that said this. You know, Justin was very much, most of his touches were playing back or across the defence. He wasn't, you know, going forward. I mean, once we've got Pierre back, I think we probably do know that Castagne's going to go to left, Pierre is going to be right, and Justin probably will sort of be a squad player. What did you think of Justin's performance?
I think his yellow card was reckless. I think that just shows maybe the jump up level that he's still dealing with, because he got away from him and his frustrations got better. And he's a young lad. But again, I don't think there's anyone really you could pull out there today and say they didn't have the best of games, did they? He might not have had the spectacular starring performance like the 3 or 4 players we mentioned for the goals and man of the match, but he didn't have a bad one. Once we got past that 25-minute period and we figured West Brom out and knew that they were kind of a bit shaky and not going to come gun-barreling out, which you may have expected from a newly promoted side wanting to stamp with authority. Leeds certainly did it with no success in the result, but success in the fact that they nearly got something out of a very good Liverpool side. And once that happened, I think we were really good, and I think nobody had really a bad game. But I agree with you. I think moving forward, be a bench player.
I really will. But I think moving forward, I think Justin's going to be a very good player. In fairness, the next one I want to have a look at is somebody that was a lot of question marks raised when we re-signed him for another season. Again, to my mind, didn't put a foot wrong. Had a really good game, and that was Mendy.
Yeah, and I will again backtail to what we both said after our first game on what we did against Blackburn in the friendly. He went quietly about his business. He did not set the world alight. He didn't make any killer passes, but he's not there to do that. We got a clean sheet, and he played that part with the role he's brought into the squad. You know, when indeed he's covering at centre back or injured, or whatever situation where he's not able to play in that position, that's twice now Mendy has played that position and gone quietly about his business. And that's exactly what you want. Someone's a bit no nonsense, rolled the ball out to the midfielders, wasn't afraid to recycle it back to Casper or Soyuncu or Whaley, as it still is surreal to see, but indeed the centre back pairing. But yeah, I think he was brilliant again today. Nothing spectacular, but again, solid in what he needed to do. Did his job. Oh, you completely gone on my camera.
Oh, am I there?
Yeah, you just want a bit
Yeah.
robotic for a
Yeah.
second.
I think we all know Ndidi's not going to be he's not the answer to our centre back problem. He's not going to be there permanently.
No.
I was surprised at the start that, and I think people have said this on in the Facebook group, is that you've got a Marty who was player of the tournament playing centre back in the African Nations Cup, that he wasn't in that position with Ndidi holding his role in centre midfield. I mean, it worked out very well today. Let's not lie. We got the 3 points, top of the league, joint top of the league, etc., etc. But did that surprise you at all?
I don't think it did, because just purely on the basis that I think it's been very clear that Ndidi has obviously been trained or throughout the season, since Brendan Rodgers has been here, possibly. That he's been there to kind of go, look, your defensive duty is, we might need that coming in centre back, we might need it as a stepping option, and that's got obviously things to do with what Brendan feels as a squad depth. I know he spoke about that, and I think he's been something that he's been doing. And I think, if I remember rightly, Man City went through a stage doing the same with their central defensive midfielder, wasn't it, Fernandinho?
Yeah.
And they occasionally steps in the centre back, and I don't think Omar, although he got his goal against Blackburn, it's just, I think for him it's a relief to get back into the mix, to start being available regularly without injuries. And I don't think today was the time to bring him in and chuck him into something which clearly, when we clearly have someone like Ndidi who's been trained and coached to step into that role when necessary for a couple of games, like he has done in the last pre-season and today. I think it was a wise choice and a better choice to play Ndidi there, because he just looked comfortable. For the second time, he's looked comfortable in the centre back.
He has, but I don't think that's going to be his sort of permanent position.
No.
So looking at the team today, we still being linked with loads, but we're not signed anybody yet. Albrighton, he came on. Do we still need a winger?
I think we need someone that can teach our Barnes how to be a bit more clinical. Maybe he could phone up another Belgian and get Eden Hazard on the phone to him and teach him how to take his chances a bit more. But apart from that, I think for this season, depending on what comes through on the youth side of things, as we know we're quite good at doing that in the last few years, I don't think there's such an urgency for the left side. The right side's my concern. The right side is my concern.
Yeah. Harvey Barnes, you mentioned him. He's got everything. I mean, obviously, he created one of the goals, and he's frustrating, and I get why Leicester fans find him frustrating. But I always remember Schlupp. I mean, he had the speed. Yeah. He could go down the wing, and then 9 times out of 10, it would end up in row Z.
Or the corner flag.
Oh, the corner, exactly. And Harvey Barnes is that sort of player. He runs at the defenders and at the defence, and he obviously earned the first penalty. He's still a young lad. Or is he still a young lad? I mean, how old is he? Is he 23, something like that now? I mean, should we be expecting more of him? Or, do we still class a 23-year-old as a young lad?
I think in terms of how he gets forward, that's just going to come with experience. And I think today we saw a little bit. It was a bit more. It was actually nice to see that we had the likes of Perez and Harvey Barnes cutting in a bit more. Like I said, all joking aside about his lack of clinical finishing, should I say, today, it was nice to see our midfield actually shooting, because I think a lot of times over the last few seasons, and we got the outcome today with our right backs scoring, but the goals elsewhere haven't been so forthcoming. And today we got a debut goal from our new left back, we'll say, that's currently filling right back for now, and it was nice to see, although the finishes weren't there, it was nice to see Harvey Barnes taking the initiative and not being afraid to have a go. And I just think it's one of them. Eventually, it's either going to come through in that attacking sense or it's not, or he's going to be an Albrighton. You know, he's either going to be the one that puts in the balls and sets you up and gets his assists through the seasons, or he's going to be a mix and match of both. And when he finds out this season, that's where we'll know where Harvey Barnes, what kind of wing we've got on our hands.
Brilliant. I think we're going to try and call it a day there, because I think that it is a bad line that we've got with you. And you are breaking up a little bit. Very, very quickly, next week we've got Burnley. Whether we will have one, possibly two. I don't think we'll have two, because I don't think we'll get Tarkowski. But we might have a couple of Burnley players, or at least one Burnley player signed up. Who knows? Looking forward to next week. Do you think we can make it 2 out of 2?
Don't see why not. Off the back of that performance, I mean, we already know through them being in here for a few years what Burnley and how Sean Dyche likes to go with the game. I don't see why we can't make it 6 points out of 6. We'll just have to wait and see. But if you're judging off this game, which you can only judge off, I'm confident we'll make it 6 points out of 6.
Brilliant. Well, like I say, perfect start, really. Couldn't have asked for any more. Thanks for joining us, Brad. Sorry, it's a bad line, so you're coming and going. So I'm just going to take you out now. I shall see you post Burnley, which will be late on Sunday night next week. Don't forget, anybody that's watching, it's on the BBC, so it is free for all, not just for those of us that have got Sky. Thanks very much, Brad. Speak to you next week.
No worries. Speak to you next week.
Thanks everybody for watching. Thanks everybody for commenting. Brad's going to have a look at that line, try and get that sorted for next week. What can we say? Join us next Tuesday when I will have Craig Bird with me, and we'll use our usually Tuesday night show when we look forward to the Burnley match. Next Friday, I shall be joined by another Chris, and that's Chris Ashworth, who's a huge Burnley fan. So he'll be on the Opposition View program next Friday, and then obviously next Sunday we will be post-match. So 7:30 Tuesday for the Tuesday show, 7:30 on Friday for the Opposition View with the Burnley fan, and then with Brad next Sunday. Like I say, what more could we ask for? 3-0, clean sheet, debutant scores a goal, gets man of the match, joint top of the league. Champions League, here we come. Hey, keep the faith. Thanks so much, everybody. Goodbye now.